Good morning. It's time once again for another installment of Trust Matters Real Estate and Estate Planning Solutions. It's all brought to you by Gateville Law Firm and Sean Robertson, as Sean is from Gateville Law Firm, located in Yorkville. Trust Matters Real Estate and Estate Planning Solutions. Sean, welcome back. How are we doing today?
Doing well. How are you doing, Mike?
Not too bad. Our focus today is asset protection and landlords, right? So
correct.
Important topic here. I don't think we've touched on this as of yet. So why is asset protection so vital for landlords?
I mean, number one, as property owners, whether it's their personal residence and investment properties for landlords, their assets are vital. So owning real estate, whether it's in Illinois or outside of Illinois, could be an issue. There could be a probate proceeding potentially in every state where you own property. Like, for example, I have a client now in Kendall where they live in Florida. The guy died in Florida, but now they need to open up a probate in Illinois because there was nothing set up here. So one of the reasons asset protection is so critical is because you could have an estate planning issue, but number two, you could have lawsuits such as property damage. A lot of times now you have the discrimination cases that are being sought out more by the state of Illinois. So, protecting your assets are pretty important, Mike.
Yeah, and with assets, we're talking there's a separation of personal assets and business assets, right? Correct. So a fundamental step in asset protection is separating your personal and business assets. So like establishing a legal entity like an LLC for each property creates a barrier between your personal assets and your rental property. So that way, if something goes wrong, such as a lawsuit, your personal wealth is not exposed. So what would be like a good example of a situation like that so folks can maybe relate to it and see if it ties in at all?
Oh, absolutely. Like, for example, now we have a client where we have a real estate closing where he has a judgment in his personal name for $600,000. The property was in the LLC's name. Because he put his personal name on the contract, the judgment came up, and now it may be difficult selling that property, but because he has it in an LLC, we may be able to sell that property because the judgment didn't attach to the property. So that's a prime example of why asset protection.
Sounds like such a minor thing, how you put it, what name it's in and that kind of thing. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's such a small detail in a way, right? But it's so important.
It's so important. I mean, especially if you're that client and you can't sell that piece of property and you still maybe have a mortgage. That's a huge deal. That's the difference between bankruptcy and non-bankruptcy.
All right. What other, we've got about a minute or so left. What other final points on this topic do we have here?
Yeah, I think, too, the second point is a lot of times a lot of our clients are using land trusts for real estate ownership for privacy, plus liens don't attach to land trusts absent a court order. So a lot of times we're counseling rental property owners and landlords on how to combine their estate and asset protection goals.
So a big lawsuit, could really do a lot of damage if you're trying to, plan for things in your life and get everything in order. All it takes is one, and get some big trouble there.
Exactly, and that's what we do. We help people find their vulnerabilities and put a plan in place to protect them because their economic security or even retirement could be at jeopardy.
How important is lien prevention?
I would say lien prevention's really important. Like in our client's case where we have a closing, like I had a doctor that had a $1.2 million judgment maybe about 15 years ago. And there was, as much as he wanted to pay it off, he just couldn't afford it. And we had asset protection set up, and him and his wife were, the only thing that they were able to do is just garnish his wages. But they weren't able to get to any property. So that's the difference between asset protection and no asset protection.
All right, some good stuff as always. Today's topic, asset protection and why it's so vital for landlords and all the different facets that we covered. If you have questions you want to follow up, contact the folks at Gateville Law Firm in Yorkville. Call them at 630-780-1034 or go to gatevillelawfirm.com. Sean Robertson, our guest for Trust Matters Real Estate and Estate Planning Solutions.